Everyone, welcome back to D&H TV. I'm Chris Phillips. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Today, we're going to talk about on-prem servers with Microsoft. That's one of the things that have kind of come back into the forefront here as we've shifted back into the in-office scenarios. I'm glad to see on-prem servers are back, so I'm really excited to have this conversation here today. To do that, or to have this conversation with us, we've got Josh Rodriguez with us today. He's a master trainer for Microsoft. Josh, how's it going?
It is going absolutely great. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Yeah, I'm disappointed that everyone missed our serial conversation pre-show. We'll get to that at the end of the show because we have so much to talk about here.
We can poll at the end.
Right, exactly. We'll hold a poll at the end, so be ready for that. Before we get started with the content here today, I do want to give all of you that are maybe watching one of our presentations for the first time a little tour of the environment. We will be taking questions throughout the broadcast. If you do have a question, you can go ahead and ask that question in the window I just highlighted. If you have a question and it's relevant to what Josh is talking about, I will interject. If not, we will hold those questions for the end, and we'll get to that question at the end. We do have some resources that are also available. I'll highlight that you can look at as the presentation is ongoing, or if you want to look at them after the fact, you can come back and join this on demand, and you'll be able to have access to those as well. We will be having some poll questions as well. You'll see them pop up as we go through. Go ahead and answer those because that will kind of help inform the conversation that we're having here today. But without further ado, I do want to kind of kick things over to Josh so we can get started here.
Well, how's everyone doing? Hopefully everyone can hear me nice and clear, loud, and great.
Yeah, Josh,
there is my camera back on. Yes. Sorry, sometimes the button gets stuck. I just had to press it 3 times. But here we go, everyone. Welcome. We're going to talk about Windows Server 2025. So welcome to Windows Server. My name is Josh Rodriguez. I am a trainer for Microsoft. But before we get started, we're going to be talking about Server 2025 today. And it's important that we know that because we know that there were previous versions, right? We're not talking about the older versions. We want to talk about the latest and greatest, how we can modernize our business for the future while also staying secure and flexible and doing it all, whether if we want to do it in the cloud or, as we said before, doing it on-prem and making sure we're 100% safe and secure. But before we go ahead and get started, the first thing I need to ask everyone is let's get started with a nice poll. Let's see if everyone is, you got your hats on, you're ready to go. Go ahead and answer this. When did the previous version of Microsoft Server release? Was it A, October 14th, 2022, B, August 18th, 2021, C, November 20th, 2023, or D, September 23rd, 2020? Chris, I see that puzzling face. I know this is not an easy question.
I should know it. I was on our server team when this happened. I remember the end of support for was it Server 2021 and trying to migrate everyone over to Server 2025. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's not easy. All right. Well, we got a lot of answers so far.
I want to say
love
November.
The engagement.
I'm going with C. I'll lock that in. I don't know the answers. I haven't looked, guys.
So you're going with C, the Spanish yes. All right. So we have about 48%. All right, we'll give it about another couple of seconds to see if everyone can, let's see if they can get it. All right, so here we go. 52%. We're at 53. I'll give it about 10 more seconds to see if you can answer. I mean, you got A, you got B, you got D, or you could go with, the phone a friend and go with C.
That's the phone a friend one. I wouldn't put $1 million on that one.
All right. Well, I will tell you that the correct answer is actually, drum roll please, B, August 18th, 2021. That was the last version of Server. So if you think about that, think about what was happening 4 years ago. That's right. A very long time ago. There were some things that didn't exist. AI wasn't even a buzzword 4 years ago, and now it's absolutely everywhere. So congratulations. All right. Hey, 35 majority. All right, let's go. The majority did get it right. Oh, it seems that no one had faith in your answer because
Nope.
only 11%.
Rightfully so. The 10% that came along for the ride with me, I'm sorry.
You're like that friend that everyone says, "Who are you betting for?" All right, we're gonna go against
bet
that.
against.
Yes. Absolutely right. Now, as you can see, that happened 4 years ago, right? So, what has changed within those 4 years? Well, we know a lot of things have changed actually. So, first and foremost, let's talk about something, all right? We need this poll, okay? Because funny enough, Chris, myself, and the team, we were having a little pre-conversation, and Chris talked about how, he had cereal for lunch, which is 100% okay and absolutely amazing, all right? Cereal for lunch. I mean, it's the breakfast of champions. It's the lunch of winners.
Well,
So
when you don't
very
have breakfast, it becomes breakfast at lunch.
It's true. So real quick, we had a little bit of a debate going. So between A, Cocoa Pebbles, B, Captain Crunch Berries, and C, French Toast Crunch, which is the best out of those three? And again, you may have a different favorite, but we just wanted to see what the majority can get out of those three. Again, we're having a fun server transformation, but let's enjoy ourselves as well, right?
We're not going to tell you who picked what right now, or what producer you might make sad if you answer incorrectly, but
I got a none of the above in the questions and the Q&A.
Steve,
that is wrong
because
Steve
there's
Bowling.
A lot of great answers.
That is absolutely wrong. The right answer is on there. All right, so we got about 25 answers, so we'll go ahead and continue. The correct answer, ladies and gentlemen, is B, Cap. Yes.
This is don't bet on me. I'm not gambling today.
So Captain Crunch Berries is the correct answer. All right, just letting everyone know it's never Cocoa Pebbles or French Toast Crunch, although those are fantastic secondary options.
You made Dave
Captain
sad,
Crunch Berries
He's
always
going to shut down this broadcast now.
It's always number one. But guess what? Did you know that Captain Crunch and Berries was going to actually get discontinued at one point? And that was because of a lot of things that are going on, right? Whether it's inflation, whether it's, issues in the market. And as funny as it sounds, yes, cereal companies do go a lot of the similar things that we go through in our markets. So we talked about that already, right? Inflation and the economic uncertainty, right? Right now, we actually found out that SMB owners are telling everyone that that is their number one issue. It's not just inflation, but it's also the uncertainty of where the economy is going, right? And we know that the world has gone through a lot of changes, right? With tariffs, foreign policy, things can literally change at the drop of a dime. And it seems that it's happening more so lately than before. So that definitely has been an issue. You also have the supply chain issues and labor shortages. I mean, you can go into any store right now and you're going to see less employees than you did maybe 4 years ago. You're also going to see tons of different things like increased customer expectations. It's funny because I was talking to a friend of mine who's worked retail for 20 years, and he said, nowadays the customer is completely different. They want more and they want to pay less, right? The expectation is so different. And the craziest part about all of that is there are people who are giving it to them. So the competition is insane. It used to be, back in the day, you have 3 stores where you wanted to go for electronics, right? Shout out Circuit City, right? From back in the day, you knew it was one of those locations. But nowadays, there's so many things when you want to purchase an electronic. You can purchase it in store, online, mom and pop, a brick and mortar. There's so many options. So we know that when it comes to these SMBs, when it comes to these businesses, they're going to need something important. They need technology that supports that. So what's the first thing that we look at when we talk about that? Well, we know at the top of the line is always going to be security. From there, we can go into a couple other things like innovation, cost savings, agility, and resilience, all those other options. But the one thing that I really want to focus on, it all comes down to one thing, and that is a digital transformation. We want an absolutely purely, wholly digital transformation, because that's the process, right? Where we're using new technologies and workflows to optimize our business to the best of its capability. We don't want to keep essentially treading water, right? We want to be above water. We want to be comfortable. We want to have the latest and greatest to produce, so that way our business can continuously move ahead and honestly be on the cutting edge of technology. We want to be able to operate without any kind of hesitation. So when it comes to that, there's couple of big things that we focus on. First and foremost, we're going to focus on enhanced security. We know that when it comes to businesses, it doesn't matter how great your servers are. It doesn't matter, if you got, as we say, racks on racks on racks, if you got the fastest VM, none of that matters if you're not secure. And we know that one of the most secure ways to be is on-prem, as we talked about it before, right? Being local, knowing exactly where your hardware is, being able to be safe and sound, that is the focus. So we want to make sure that when it comes to that protection, we're not just doing a single layer. For all those who've watched a certain movie about an ogre, right? We want to be like an onion. We want to have multiple layers. We want to be able to have that type of protection and protect our business from end to end. We also want to make sure we have the upgraded capabilities. We want to be able to modernize. We want to be able to have the absolute best available. Because again, we know that out there are bad actors, hackers, whatever you want to call them, that constantly want to compromise your business. And if we're always not catching up with them, right? We want to always be one step ahead of them and make sure that they try something, we've been prepared. And then last but not least, what's going to drive all of our innovation? Well, we want to be able to use AI to drive every single part of our innovation. Making sure that we're using AI to its maximum capability and essentially not just using it for, creating fun images or trying to create a story. We want to be able to use AI and implement it into every single part of our business to make sure that we are running as optimally as possible. So when it comes to server, who are our audiences? Well, we have broken it down to essentially three major audiences: your BDMs, your TDMs, and your ITPs. So when you're looking at your business decision makers, you're looking at like the owners, the head of departments, the ones who want to get the most out of everything, right? They want to squeeze that budget and get every last drop and make sure that it is the best possible product they can produce with that given budget, because they're trying to keep costs down. They're trying to make sure they're maximizing absolutely everything. So that's the BDM. When it comes to the TDMs, you're looking at people like the CIOs, the ones who are more interested in server. This is probably be the party that's really interested in 2025, because what they want is they want to make sure it meets their security and their compliance needs. That's their biggest focus. They're looking for ways to innovate while also, again, keeping costs down, but they want to make sure they meet their goals. And last but not least, you have your ITPs. Now, while they're typically not considered our primary audience, it's important to make sure that the IT professionals are kept in our minds. Because guess what? They're the ones on the floor. They're the ones that are constantly using this product every single day. They're the ones that matter. And because of that, because there's so many different types of customers, well, we have different options when it comes to server. So here comes our poll. Let's go ahead and see if we can get an answer. How many versions of Server 2025 are there? Okay. So, Chris, we're going to want your answer to make sure that, I
so
believe
everyone
in you.
can bet against me. It's fine. It's fine.
I got faith in you. Okay. I believe in you.
I'll go 3.
You'll go 3. All right.
I can think of 3 in my head. I know the answer is definitely not one of them.
Okay. Yeah. Well, look, Chris just gave some fantastic advice. He said it's definitely not A.
There's
definitely
not
more
A.
than one. Okay.
And I could definitely think of 2, but I feel like there's a third that I can't think of.
There's a third sneaky one out there, right? It's okay. I have faith in you. Okay. And I tell people I'm a man of big faith, right? Because I'm a Mets fan. So you have to be, you got to have faith if you're a Mets fan. So yes, I always say,
that's I'm a Tigers fan. So we almost had a similar slow motion collapse.
Oh, no. See, that's the thing is the difference is we have it every single year.
That's true.
But
that's fine.
We got about 50%, so we're going to go ahead and see what the answer is. So how many versions of Server 2025 are there? Well, allow me to name them. You have Essentials.
Mm-hmm.
You have Standard.
And Data Center.
And Data Center. And Data Center Azure Edition. There are 4. There are actually 4 total different types. Steve Steve, I knew I didn't like you as soon as you said something bad about the cereal. You said go Reds. Anyway, yes, so there are actually four. So remember that essentials is like for your SMBs, right? We're going to go over that. Standard, mid-size, data center for large, and then Azure data centers for those hybrid cloud environments.
People didn't learn to not bet with me.
Speaking of which, let's go.
I'll be going over my NFL picks later in the broadcast for everyone. Just get your betting apps out. It'll be fine.
No comment. Anyway, so when it comes to essentials, right? With Server 2025 Essentials, this is for your first-time customers, okay? Those are the ones that are just looking to get just a taste of server. They're small environments. Again, it does have limited availability, so that's something that you want to look at. Now, when it comes to your standard SMB, you're going to go with the standard business, right? That's typically for those who have physical or they're not going virtual. Data center is for those who are virtual. So again, nice, simple breakdown. The reason why we're not going into Azure is because, again, Azure has just completely different type of beast. So we'll go with essentially the three main ones that are constantly being sold. So again, essentials, small businesses, no virtualization. You got your standard, okay, mostly physical on-prem, very little virtualization as well. And then you have your data center, which is majority virtualization, very little on-prem, okay? Now, what are our value props when we talk about Server 2025? Well, again, we talk about security. Security is always going to be top of mind. So the first thing is going to be your security and resiliency. From there, we go a little bit into the cloud, ready and flexible with hybrid capabilities, because as we know, on-prem is absolutely fantastic. And right now, the majority of our businesses, especially with Microsoft, are going to be hybrid environments where they're doing majority of their business on-prem, but they have some hybrid virtualization to take advantage of the cloud. And then, of course, we want that high performance infrastructure. So let's go into depth a little bit more for each one. First, let's talk about that advanced security and resiliency. So here, what we're looking at is we know security is top of mind for almost every company. I mean, we could just do a show of hands and probably have everyone raise their hands. You've heard of some company was breached probably yesterday. I mean, I'm sure if you go on any news website right now, you'll see this company was breached. This was happened, right? Oh, that class action lawsuit here. Oh, why does that happen? Because again, they're not prioritizing security. And security needs to be the number one focus, right? It's, I was actually telling, my wife was actually talking to me. She said, can you believe this person's mansion got broken into? And, they were like, it's a $10.2 million mansion. And I was like, yeah, they have a $10 million mansion and they probably spent, hundreds of dollars on security. They're not protecting their assets. They're not protecting their environment and their infrastructure. That's why we want to make sure that we are being as advanced when it comes to security, but more importantly, as resilient as possible. And the first thing I want to talk to you about is called on-premises hot patching. Now that is huge because now we're helping businesses reduce that downtime. You also have some great things, for example, with Windows Defender and its capabilities, right? I could literally teach a 4-hour class on how great Windows Defender is and all the things it does behind the scenes that people don't realize, that it's constantly protecting, like a watchdog that's constantly there with using, other things like Sentinel. I mean, just absolutely amazing how Windows Defender truly protects to the point where, you think of those antivirus, all those malware. Back in the day, you had to have that. And now Windows Defender is so strong that it's just a secondary lock now. You also have, like we talked about, that multi-layered security, right? Because Microsoft believes in that zero trust. We want to make sure that, we are authenticating, we are authorizing, we are going through the gamut, MF, all of that to make sure that if anyone has access to anything, that they have been verified through multiple avenues. You also have your secure core server, making sure that your hardware, your firmware, your OS security, all of that is 100% safe. Because I know that it says critical data, but in my opinion, every data is critical. Every single piece of data that you have matters to you and matters to your business. So all of it is critical data. We want to make sure every single piece of data, the important to the more important, is 100% protected. And of course, we have that virtualization-based security. For those who want to, again, have those hybrid cloud environments, we make sure that absolutely everything is protected from any type of malware and that unauthorized access. Now, for those who are trying to be, cloud ready and have that hybrid capability, remember that they have tons of different things that are basically brand new to Windows Server. Being able to connect to Azure Arc, I mean, that is huge. You're able to leverage it, get everything you need from the hybrid cloud capabilities, have management all in one central location. I mean, tons of great things. You also have new storage capabilities like with your admin center. So with your admin center, you have that hub so you can manage absolutely everything from one central location. You have Monitor, which is constantly helping you and showing you how to do things and do great. And then on top of that, you also have hybrid services tools, right? These amazing tools that are going to help you, again, find everything that you need within that. But last but not least, this is probably my favorite, which is that management of those VMs. You have seamless management when it comes to your virtual machines that's going to allow you to do absolutely everything you want when it comes to your virtual machine. So that is the best part. Now, going on to the next one here. Sorry, give me 1 second, everyone. It seems that my thing got stuck. Just 1 second. Chris, can you still?
Yep. We've got you back now.
Oh, sorry. Looks like I lost audio. All right, perfect.
All right.
We're at high performance infrastructure. Yes.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right, we're back. So when it comes to high performance infrastructure, we want to make sure that you're having everything that you need when it comes to scalability, right? Your business grows, and we want to be there and help you grow as you need to. Because the worst thing is, let's say you have a website and all of a sudden you're an overnight sensation, right? Someone shares your business on TikTok and then someone shares that to a celebrity and that celebrity shares it out. And then all of a sudden it explodes overnight, right? Not being able to support that and not being able to scale quickly, whether it's vertically or, horizontally, that's terrible. Your website could crash, and then all of a sudden, there you go. You had 5 minutes to take advantage of and potentially explode your business. And unfortunately, it wasn't there because you weren't able to scale, right? We make sure that's never an issue. We want to make sure that you're able to scale as much as you need to with your servers. So whether it's, increasing your VMs, increasing the strength of them, increasing your server, whatever it is, we want to make sure we're there for you. On top of that, right, we want to make sure that you can store absolutely everything, right? Whether you're migrating, you're making, things large, whatever it is, we want to make sure you're able to do that easily. With your containers, again, we're talking about fast, isolated environments to make sure that everything that you're doing is alone by itself without having any conflict with anything else. And then that flexibility. But the one big point is, again, we talked about this earlier, right, with Chris, where Chris incorrectly guessed 3 and then correctly there are 4, is that we have a different range of editions. So we find the best option for you. Whatever it is, whatever you're looking for, we have that for you. So now let's talk about Server 2025 and how Microsoft migrates. But before we do that, right, we know that we're talking about Azure. Does anybody know what Azure is? I'm pretty sure you do. Okay. But did you know what Azure's code name was? So here we go, Chris. 0 for 2. I got faith in you.
0 for 3. I'm sorry.
Who's counting, right? Here we go. You got A, Project Blue Sphere. B, Project Green Apple. C, Project Red Dog. Or D, Project Yellow Road.
See, this is a really good question because all of these sound like Microsoft code names.
They are.
And you think back to like a lot of the old Microsoft code names. I could really see any of these being the answer. I want to say Blue Sphere because I heard that before. Yellow Road is just an Oz though reference, and maybe they would do that. I don't know. I'll go with A. So everyone else bet anything other than A. You'll be fine.
All right. So again,
I've now destroyed the odds on that one.
A, Project Blue Sphere. B, Project Green Apple. C, Project Red Dog. Or D, Project Yellow Road. We're going to give about 10 more seconds. So now the question is, Chris, Yeah, eventually you got to get one right? I mean, that's just the odds,
The
right?
laws of statistics state that at some point I'm going to at least stumble into the right answer, even if I am wrong about everything else. Yes,
At
it's
some point.
impossible.
All right, we're over 50% of attendees that have done the poll. So here we go. And guess what? You know, you had to get one right eventually. This was not it. The correct answer is actually Project Red Dog.
And you guys haven't learned anything from this. 45% of you haven't learned anything.
You know what? When I was creating this poll and I put Project Blue Sphere, I'm like, this has a nice ring to it, you know?
It does. Next
It
code
does.
name. Talk to the development staff.
Yeah, you're absolutely. Oh, so Becky said even a blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while. So you know what?
I'm as blind as it can be, buddy.
Here we go. All right. So we're doing great. You're doing fantastic. Let's talk about Microsoft Azure. So what is Azure? Well, again, as it states there, Azure is a cloud platform that lets businesses store data, run apps, access computing power without physical servers. However, what I can tell you is it's much more than that. If we wanted to talk about Azure, it could be literally a 60-part series. I mean, we could go longer than than the longest running TV show just talking about Azure, because again, there's so much that encompasses it. But what I really want you to understand is that what Azure truly helps, it helps save on hardware costs, scale operations, and be able to manage your resources differently. And it does all of that when combining with your on-prem. So again, you're not just using Azure by itself. Remember, you still have that hybrid environment. So you could be 90% on-prem and 10% of your business is a hybrid business using the cloud just for some of its advantages. So when we talk about Azure, the biggest focus right now is Azure Arc, because what it does is extends its capabilities into Server 2025. So it provides things that honestly you didn't have before, weren't capable of before, or it can significantly benefit you now and take your business just one step further. Let's take a look at some of those right now. So first and foremost, let's talk about centralizing that management. Because with Azure Arc, you're able to centralize your management and go across different things, whether you're on premises, edge, multi-cloud, whatever it is, you have a single Azure portal. So now you're not just worrying about here, here, and here, and having to, essentially optimize all of them or decompartmentalize. No, you're able to do all that. And that enables you to simplify, your operations, your governance, absolutely everything that you have, and provides consistency across your entire infrastructure. From there, Azure Arc also allows you to take advantage of some of the great features that unfortunately you wouldn't have, right? Some great tools and services. Probably my favorite example is, as we showed before, hot patching. That allows you to do security updates without a reboot, even with on-premises devices. Just think about how much time that's saving you, right? On average right now, a business typically needs to do, 12 to 16 to even maybe 20 plus reboots every single year. And I know with hot patching, it's reduced to almost only 4. I mean, just that alone is a significant time savings. On top of that, you're able to have consistent security policies across the board, right? With compliance, with everything, you won't have to worry, because now your compliance, it goes across your every single server, okay? This makes sure that you're protecting yourself against threats and you're not worried about having to do it to every single one. No, it's just right across the board. And then, of course, there's something that I am terrible at doing, and that is managing my resources. With Azure, you don't have to worry about that. You have that flexibility, right? Like we talked about before, sometimes we have a small window to capitalize on our business. And any little thing could throw us off, right? Any little thing could go wrong. But when it comes to scaling, we make sure that that's not the issue, right? You're able to scale as big, as wide as you need to, and make sure that you're ready for absolutely everything. And of course, finally, we want that consistent development, right? We want to make sure that there's consistency in the application development. So when you're building with Windows Server, that means you can build, deploy, do everything without having to adjust any processes based on your server's location. You're able to do all of that easily. So that's why it makes it so important, right? And again, For those who, are saying like, hey, I'm going to be on-prem forever, I don't need hire, that's okay. This is just showing you that you have the flexibility to do so. You have these options. And again, you don't have to be completely, it doesn't have to be 50-50. Again, you could go 90-10, 80-20, whatever you want. Entirely up to you. And that's why when going forward, we're looking at, things like data centers and security and breaches. So let's go a little bit further into security. But before we do, Chris, redemption time. It is redemption time, okay?
No, I don't believe you anymore.
Microsoft owns a castle, okay?
Okay.
And I put it in air quotes. And
Castle.
I'm sorry I did air quotes, everyone. My apologies. Just have to do it, okay? What is it actually? Is it A, a data center in Ireland, B, an AI research lab in England, C, a campus in Scotland, or D, a smart building in India?
There's some suggestions that I should just use AI to cheat this, but I have my interface up right now for the broadcast. I'm really superstitious about it. I feel like if I take it down or whatever or mess with it, I'm gonna mess with the broadcast. So I'm not gonna use AI. That'd be cheating. C again feels like the right answer. I don't know.
It's so funny because everyone literally, as you can see the poll, like everyone waits, and as soon as you answer, the poll numbers just go.
Oh my gosh,
jump up.
That's you guys. I appreciate the faith you have in me. And if we're talking technology, I'm usually spot on. These questions are hard. I'm failing at you guys here. I'll go with C. That was the one that felt right.
All right, C, campus in Scotland. Okay. All right, we're almost at 50%. Once we get to 50, we'll go ahead and reveal the answer. Remember, it could be a data center in Ireland, an AI research lab in England, a campus in Scotland, or a smart building in India. And the correct answer for everyone is a data center in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
They call it the castle over there in Ireland. So yes, it is a data center in Ireland. And because it is in Ireland, let's talk about, all right, great job, team. All right, look at that. No one picked up the C. All right. Well, you know what? Their faith in your lack of faith has to mean something.
I'm not invited to trivia night at the bar. I get it. It's fine.
But you're invited to the cookout. Don't worry. You're invited
exactly.
to the barbecue.
I'll come to the cookout, though.
So with that being said, Larry, don't worry. We'll be okay. Here we go. So with that being said, speaking of castle, that's what we talk about, right? When we talk about advanced layers and security, that's the goal here. So when Microsoft decided to create that kind of security, we wanted to make sure when it came to server, we had a multiple layer of security, right? We didn't just want a single layer. And what I want you to think of it is think of it like those old school castles, right? If anyone has ever played a fantasy game or, maybe rolled a natural 20 for my D&D fans or anything else, right? See those fantasy, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, you name it. One of those shows, right? You've seen a castle, and a castle doesn't have a single entrance, right? Sometimes it'll have a moat. Sometimes it'll have a drawbridge. Then it'll have different walls that eventually lead up to the royal palace, which is the castle. And even then you have royal guards. You have tons of different rooms and layers and walls before you finally get to the king and the queen. And that's what Microsoft decided to do. Microsoft said, we can't have just a single layer and depend on that. Because if you have a single wall and somehow someone is able to breach it, however strong or however thick, then there's nothing else behind that. So Microsoft said, why don't we just make tons of walls? So that's the goal. That's the idea here. Microsoft has created tons of different walls and in different avenues, whether it's through firmware, through hardware, through software, whatever it is, Microsoft finds a way to make it more secure. And we start off with Secure Core Server. So with Secure Core Server, here, this is where that multi-layered approach truly, essentially shines. Because right here, we have, first and foremost, protection against firmware level attacks. And I'm not talking about the base level or line level or even the median level. We're talking about the highest degree of protection for those attacks. Things like 2 p.m. sorry, excuse me, things like TPM 2.0. What a tongue twister that is, Chris. TPM 2.0 and System Guard, right? That makes sure that you have secure boot. You have continuous monitoring. And those are things that now are essentially non-negotiables. It used to be you could have TPM 2.0 or you could not. Now it's like, no, every device must have TPM 2.0. We make sure of that because we want to make sure that you have the best security available. So even your most private information is kept secure. And then, of course, with System Guard, we make sure everything is running great and smooth and protected. And it gives you something that, honestly, we say money can't buy, but we know servers aren't cheap. But it gives you peace of mind, right? Knowing that, hey, everything is going to be okay, right? It's like one of those things, right? We always say people who live in a bad neighborhood, people who live in a good neighborhood, right? When my wife and I were shopping for a home, right? The biggest thing we looked at is, as great as the home is, if it's in a not safe neighborhood, right? We don't have peace of mind. We would never be able to live comfortably, right? It's one of those things where we would constantly be double checking windows, making doors. I got 2 small kids, right? And I want to make sure that they always feel safe and secure. And it didn't matter how great it was. If I didn't have a safe environment, it meant nothing, right? And that's what we talk about when we talk about server with this, right? We want to make sure that as you're using your business, as you're using your environment, as everything's running in the background, you're not worried. You're not concerned. You're not double checking, clicking, refreshing to make sure that everything is okay. And because of that, that's what we talk about on-premises hot patching like we talked about before. Now with on-premises hot patching, this is the one thing that, we're constantly telling everyone is absolutely amazing because we really want you to, I guess, truly comprehend what it means, right? And that is that you're able to apply those security updates to your on-premises servers, so your on-prem servers, right? Without needing to reboot. What does this do? Well, lessens workloads, saves time, improves your costs. I mean, just across the board, significantly better. And like I said, we're reducing it from 12 to 15, even 20 in some instances, all the way down to just 4 a year. And I want you to think about that. Think about a device being down for a reboot, right? On average, how long does it take to do a reboot, to do an update? I mean, it can take time. That's time you're getting back. That's time that you're saving. That's money that you're getting back. And with that, we also have VBS. Now, VBS is that virtualization-based security, right? So that's with your Hyper-Vs that protects your system from malwares, from unauthorized access, from someone getting access to it. And we do this to 2 great things: your VBS enclaves and your VBS key protection. With both of these, we're making sure your cryptographic keys, your sensitive workloads, everything is safe. Enclaves are able to isolate them to make sure that no one has access to them whatsoever. So even if somehow, by some miracle, they're able to get through those multiple layers of protection, which they won't, and they're somehow able to access some of your sensitive data, which they won't, right? Your enclaves make sure that even then this is isolated. The best way I can phrase it is like, imagine if somehow they were to storm the castle and they get to the throne room and they find nothing there. That's because the king and queen are in the hunting lodge miles away, safe and sound. That's how an enclave would work. And then with your VBS key protection, again, you're protecting those cryptographic keys. You're making sure that they're securely managed, they're securely stored, and that way nothing can access them. So even if they can somehow get to the vault, the lock and combination are safe and sound.
There was a question that came up about the on-prem hot patching. What is the average additional cost to use on-prem hot patching?
That is a great question. What I'm going to do is I have a team. I'm going to actually copy and paste that, send this to my team, and get an exact answer because I don't want to give you something that is inaccurate. So I'm literally just typing it now.
And if you guys have any more questions, additional questions to ask, I'm going to go ahead and highlight that Ask a Question window. Go ahead and ask them, even if it's about content we've already covered. We will be going over the questions a little bit later on, about 10 minutes from now.
So I do have them on hand here. Give me 1 second. So they have a number, okay, which says base. I'm also going to ask Copilot as well because, again, Copilot is absolutely fantastic. I'm just to make sure the numbers match up. And, I mean, It's, you know how it's funny, Chris, how sometimes you get the same answer but in different ways.
Yep.
So one of them told me about 24 a month because the average server runs 16 cores, right? And then Copilot is telling me about $1.50 per CPU core per month. If you do the math, it comes out to the same amount.
It's about 24, yeah.
Yeah. So there's your answer. Now I can actually, well, let me see. I'm going to post it.
I don't think you can post it to them so they can see it. That's just our team chat. So we will go ahead and get that information and have that posted in the results after this broadcast is over. So when you get the email that the on-demand version of this broadcast is available, we'll have this information in the resources for you.
Perfect. Okay. Yep. I just sent supposed to be the link that they sent me, but here you go. But anyway, yeah, so that's the average cost. Again, it varies, so I can't give you an exact cost, but it does on average. That's what it comes out to. Again, based off your infrastructure, your environment, that could drastically change. It could drastically reduce or drastically increase. But again, that's based on the average server that's being used. But thank you so much. Dave. Great question from Diane. Absolutely. Okay, so Windows Defender. Let's talk about Windows Defender and how amazing it is. Okay. When you talk about Windows Defender, you got essentially multiple options. So you're protecting all that sensitive data through Windows Defender. You have Exploit Guard, Defender ATP, and tons of great features. Now, each one, again, like I said, we could talk about Defender for hours, but each part of it protects a specific thing. So again, going back, right? You got your, you have your knights, you have your archers, you have your squire, you have all these different types of people when it comes to a kingdom, and Windows Defender is no different. We have different people that specialize in different things. So your credential guard, again, protecting those passwords, your exploit guard, making sure that they're protecting from attacks, and your advanced threat protection, that's the one that is your scout, right? It is making sure it's at the top, looking out and trying to find things before they even get there, right? So making sure, hey, we see a potential breach incoming, they're able to protect it, prepare for it, and again, deflect it and stop it. So let's talk about how we have a high performance infrastructure, right? We know that right now, the focus with a lot of businesses is they're growing. And because they're growing, they want to be able to scale as fast as possible. So what are the things that truly help us scale as quick as possible? Well, again, we talked about this before, but you're looking at VM memory. Okay, now when it comes to VM memory, we have a new maximum. Now, the previous maximum was literally a tenth of this. So now we have 240 terabytes. 240 terabyte is the maximum amount. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I have a 2 terabyte drive on my desktop, and I feel like I struggle to fill that up. Can you imagine 240? I mean, just absolutely insane. But again, do we need it? No. But is it nice to know that it's there in case we need to scale? Absolutely. You also have expanded hardware support, right? So now we're at 2,048 virtual processors, which is just, again, blowing my mind. So especially, I know, Chris, you said that, you remember when server first started, right? I mean, from when it first started, or even just 2 versions ago to now, I mean, we made significant strides in its advancement and how it's working. You also have better congestion control, right? So we have advanced metrics, advanced customization, control over exactly what you're doing. And of course, right, we talked about this multiple times. We want to make sure that encryption and that networking is constantly improving, always getting better. So let's talk about those storage, right? So when it comes to storage, we want to make sure we're able to handle absolutely everything. So you're going to have 3 things that, again, go into storage: your migration services, your flexibility, and your NVMe storage performance. We know that people in the past with server maybe had some trouble, right, accessing inventory, transferring data, whether you were using Windows, Linux, Net, whatever it was, right? We've made it significantly easier with 2025. Now it's honestly seamless and incredibly easy process. When you're talking about storage flexibility, we make sure that you're supporting a wide range of storage solutions. So whatever kind of solution you want to have, we want to be able to support it. And there's even programs that if for any reason it's incompatible, you can request it, talk to a support team of engineers, and they can try to find a way to make it work, right? And the same thing with applications. And then you look at your NVMe storage performance, excuse me. Right now, we're able to handle 60% better operations per second on NVMe storage. That's huge. 60% more. And I know what a lot of people think, right? 60% more. Wow, that's great. Okay, now imagine right now okay? If you got 60% more gas out of your car, huge. I mean, that to me speaks volumes, right? What if my phone battery lasted 60% longer? Huge, right? What if my paycheck was 60% bigger? I mean, significant differences. And while, yeah, it may not be your paycheck, 60% faster is huge. That means you're getting your operations done quicker. You're able to do things better. And speaking of doing things quicker, Windows containers have gone through some significant updates. And the first one is just building your application significantly faster. No more waiting around. We want to make sure that as soon as your application is ready to go, you're able to build it, get it done, and move forward. We also want to make sure that, again, you have that extension. So when it comes to, your admin center, you're able to use absolutely everything you want. And of course, smaller size. As great as it is, we know that sometimes a larger size, right, that takes more storage, it makes things more difficult, right? We want to make sure that the base image is significantly smaller. What does this do? Well, it improves performance, believe it or not, but more importantly, significantly faster deployment. And now we go to WSSD. You know, Microsoft, we love to be able to abbreviate things. So when WSSD is Windows Server Software Defined Data Center Capability, okay? Now, it is not WSDA, okay? It is WSSD. I tried WSDA, it did not catch on. So that being said, you do have a couple of great things that it does, right? You're gonna be able to reduce costs, scale, automate, be agile, improve resiliency, and enhance security, okay? Now, I could read off each one of these, but essentially, what you can see is it's just significantly better. It just makes absolutely everything. I mean, you could look at your job, look at your profession, look at your server and think, I want to do this better, and it's probably right here on this list. That's the idea. Because we want to make sure that whatever it is that you're looking for, you get exactly what you need. Okay? We talked about those 4 different versions, right? But we talk about 3 today. The ones that we want to focus on, which are Essentials, Standard, and Data Center. Those are the focus of what we're looking at today. And of course, when it comes to that licensing, we want to make sure that everyone understands a couple of things. First and foremost, the anatomy of a physical server, okay? You get your processor, your core, and all physical cores of the processor must be licensed. Now, this is important, okay? Because they must be licensed. Now, each one has a minimum, 8 cores per processor, 16 cores per server. And then, of course, you have your CALs, or your client access licenses. Now, when it comes to the CALs, you have 2 essentially different ones, okay? First, you have your user CALs, and then you have your device CALs. Now, user CALs are the ones that are designed to specific users, so they're not assigned to the devices. So that means an employee with a user CAL can access essentially any device in their organization, so anything on their Windows server, right? They just log in with their user CAL, and they're good to go. Now, the other option is you have your device CALs. That's the opposite, which means that, again, I can't log in. Everyone logs into that device, not the person logging into every device. So those are your different options. Now, when it comes to server, what are the biggest ways that we save? Well, let me give you 3 scenarios to show you why server, specifically on-prem, is so beneficial, and more importantly, profitable. So first, let's look at centralized management, okay? So we had a Windows Admin Center in Server 2025, right? And we know that's matured into a great tool. But look at this testimony from a customer. We had a Midwest manufacturing company firm. And by the way, we didn't put names, but a nice, easy Bing search will help you find all of these testimonials. So we had a firm that was deploying a WAC and gateway mode to manage 40 plus Hyper-V hosts and file servers. But by centralizing patching, diagnostics, and role management, they reduced their IT labor hours by 35%. This avoided them having to hire 2 additional system admins. Now think about that. Not only did they reduce their hours, but they also avoided having to hire 2 other people and spent more money on salaries. And this way they can, again, be more profitable. So on average, they saved about $120,000 in annual operational cost. Also, let's take a look at hot patching. How can hot patching be a benefit? Well, Same thing, right? We talk about that profitability driver. Well, there's a Midwest manufacturing company that deployed it, and they had that same thing. Now, last but not least, what about our Hyper-V gains? We had a government agency that migrated about 120 VMs from VMware to Hyper-V on a Windows Server 2025. And they said that there was no forced subscription model. It was seamless integration with their existing Active Directory, and they saved $85,000 in licensing and support costs. So again, there are so many ways that you can implement Server 2025 and literally save thousands upon thousands of dollars. So to close off, remember, empower your customers. Don't empower them to modernize tomorrow, or empower them to modernize today. Show them that Server gives them that flexibility that they need, that it has those innovations of protection, that it gives that productivity and that AI readiness, but more importantly, that it has that scalability, agility, and performance. At Microsoft, our message is to empower others to achieve more. I hope we did that today. I hope through myself, through Chris, through our favorite brands of cereal, and all the poll questions that we did, we empowered you to achieve more. The only thing we ask is that you take this lesson, learn about Server, look to your customers and look to others, and also empower them to achieve more. Thank you all so much. And that was my presentation on Windows Server 2025.
Thank you so much for all the great information there. There is a question that it came across, and I actually do have a question myself that I'm interested in. We'll start with the question that came across. If you're going to integrate Azure Arc into the Data Center Azure Edition, or is the Data Center Azure Edition needed, or can you just get standard and add it on?
So that's a great question. Okay. Now it's a little bit different, but in other words, you don't need it to store it into an Azure data center, but they do need some kind of connectivity to Azure. So in other words, it can't be 100% on-prem. In other words, 100% local without any connection to Azure whatsoever. So you do need some kind of Azure connectivity. You do need an Azure subscription, and you need to have, I think it's Azure Arc, the agent. You need to have that accessed on your Server 2025 machine.
Cool.
So technically, again, it's yes and no, and my apologies for the nuanced answer, but that's really what it is. Now, there are some things that you do have to understand, and that is you don't have to migrate data, and you do retain control over your machine, so you don't have to worry about those kinds of things. So again, you do have some requirements to it, but you don't have to fully go all the way to the Azure Data Center Edition.
Awesome. Becky did ask if we were going to announce the winners. We will be collecting the list of names post the event and be drawing those names after the event. The winners will get notified after the event for that, and the shipping information, all that stuff will be worked out at that time. So you're gonna have to hang on for about a day, and we'll do the winners at that point. The question I had, the question I had was, is Server 2025's licensing on the three levels of Essentials, Standard, and Data Center similar to the last version in that you did mention that it's 16 core minimum on the Standard side. What is it looking like on the Essential side? Is it the same?
So sorry, just to get your question right. So you're asking if it's similar to the last version, in other words, in terms of the
licensing
limits, the licensing.
Yeah.
Yes. So the licensing minimums right now for Essentials, they remain limited. So they still have, I think it's one physical or virtual instance, right? Depending on how you run it. You think you have 25 users, 50 devices, and no CALs. So you have 25 users, 50 devices, no CALs. Because I think CALs are, yes. Let me just, I think CALs you only get in Standard and the Data Center editions.
Okay. Sounds great. Microsoft Windows Server licensing on a 36-core processor-based server with 20 VMs. Okay, that's the setup. Do you have to license all 36 cores for 2 VMs?
That's a good question.
So as far as I was aware, and again, it could be different or whatever, Standard did come with 2 VMs.
Yes,
that you could use. So as long as you license all 36 cores, you should be able to get the 2 VMs. You shouldn't have to license whatever that'd be, 72 cores. That seems insane.
So yeah.
Well,
So
he's asking for 20. He's asking for with 20 VMs. At that point, if you're doing 20 VMs, get data center.
Yeah, I was going to say, because the thing is, I know that you do have to license all the physical cores. So in this case, if there were 36 physical cores, every single one of them has to be licensed. Base edition gives you 2 VMs. So
Yeah.
you'd have to relicense all 36 cores. So it wouldn't make sense to do that. Your data center is by far the better choice in that option.
David,
Because
let me address this with actually D&H's internal server team. I know when I was working more directly with them, we actually had a tool that we could plug in the number of physical cores your system had, the number of VMs you needed. Not only would it spit out the licensing, it would spit out a recommendation of whether you need to go up to data center or you're good on standard. I'm with Josh here 100%. This sounds like a data center play. But let me get with our server team. We've got your contact information from when you registered. We'll have someone reach out to you on that one.
yeah, just because again, you're able to license all of them at once, and you get the unlimited VMs with Data Center Edition. So yeah, it just seems like a home run for data center. But yeah, absolutely double check and make sure all that information is good to go.
All right. Sounds good. That is going to be it for the questions. I will give you one little chance, Josh, here. Any final thoughts before we sign off here before the top of the hour?
No, thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. You know, I always joke around and say my wife barely can listen to me for 15 minutes. So I appreciate you listening to me for 45 minutes plus. Thank you all so much. And honestly, huge shout out to you, Chris, for being a fantastic co-host and being here. And again, you can text me your picks for the Super Bowl. I would greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll let you know. We'll reconnect in February, and we'll make you some money. I'm gonna lose quite a bit.
I mean, if you told me Giants and Jets, then you know that's a
right now. Then, to be honest with you, I could say that and then manifest a Subway Series
look like
Super
a genius.
Bowl. The most improbable Super Bowl we've ever seen. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. This broadcast will be available on demand a little bit later on this week. Be on the lookout for that email. We will also be emailing the winners of the prizes here today. If you have any additional questions after the fact, please reach out to our Modern Solutions team at dnh.com. Is there any way they can contact you directly, Josh?
Yeah, so that you can contact me through either LinkedIn or at my email, which is josh.rodriguez@roll.mx.
Yep, and I'll go ahead and highlight the speaker bio there so you can get on over to Josh's LinkedIn. But with that being said, thank you guys for joining us today. Thank you, Josh, for all the great information, and we can't wait to see you for the next time.
Take care, everyone.